Hey, folks. Welcome back to Black Push's Push Talk. I'm James.
Sean.
And we just want to say thank you for joining us on today. We got a very interesting story ahead in front of us today. It's dealing both with the First Amendment and being freedom of speech, and also dealing with gun rights. So it's kind of it's a twofer.
Maybe even three, or mental health also.
Yeah, and mental health. Yeah, got to know who you are, right?
Definitely.
Okay, so first we're going to go ahead and let you listen to part of the video, and maybe we can lead into it. So here's this young man. We'll just call him Mr. Crothers, down in San Diego, California, and so he was saying that his rants, his tirades, his speech against people of color, against the LGBTQ community, Muslims and the Latino community, against women, and against Jewish people, that it falls under the freedom of speech. Judge says no, that is not the case. So because of that, he had to go to court because of these posts that he did, that he is the San Diego County Superior Court Judge Whitney ruled last week that he won't be able to purchase or own a handgun for at least 2 years. So, I mean, now, there's the reason. Now, if you ask why can't he, then thank you for asking. Why can't he? Well, it's because later in his platform and on his post, and we're getting ready to play the video in just a second, that you'll hear what he said, what the attorney is reading, what the post says, and how this guy is thinking, mental health, and why he shouldn't own a gun.
Yeah.
Against Timothy Carruthers Jr., alleging the 23-year-old Alpine resident posted racist threats on Instagram under the username The Liberal Terminator. We're beeping out the N-word.
Respondent wrote, "All need to die. I don't know how much longer I can contain my anger. I want a race war to start so I can kill black people." And then he warned, quote, "I'm not even joking."
Deputy City Attorney Joshua Kay told the judge, while posting threats online, Carruthers purchased a handgun and illegally concealed it in his car.
Respondent was apprehended in his car at 4 a.m.
Right. But once again, we have to have some type of way to protect against people that might have mental issues. You know, he's basically hoping for a disaster to happen so that he can go out and cause more mayhem. And, you know, to allow this person to, you know, get a gun if he doesn't already have one, I mean, I feel like that would be just irresponsible to basically aid a person who's claiming that they want to just run out in the streets and just cause anarchy. And hoping for a race war. That's just like, you know, he really needs to be evaluated.
Yeah. You know, as I read it, in another quote, he says, "I want to kill anything, N-word. I want to torture them, beat them to death, and watch them gurgle and spit on their own blood. You got to always keep your strap ready ready when in a 10-mile radius of any N-word." And so this is what he thinks. Right. I mean, this is how he thinks. Yeah. And he's, honestly, if that's how I think, I'm really ain't finna put it on social media. You know what I'm saying? Because I don't want the general public to know I actually think like this. If I go do something, you don't have any evidence saying, well, he's always been like that, but here it is. Yeah. Nevertheless, his mental psyche, his mental awareness of the way he thinks.
Yeah.
Now, how he got to that,
That's
to this point,
yeah.
is beyond me, because we know kids aren't racist.
Right.
You learn racism, but
Right.
you're not born a racist.
Right.
In fact, when you look at those pictures,
Yeah.
and particularly when him sitting on the white Camaro,
Yeah.
you know, he looks like an old school b-boy type dude.
Right.
You know, said, you know, hang out and do hip hop dancing and the whole nine.
Right.
You know, and I guess those are gang signs he's throwing up with his hands or whatever. But still, and you can't judge a book by its cover,
Right.
because behind that mask, that face of his right there,
Right.
you don't know what he's thinking.
Yeah.
And this is what he's thinking, but he's riding the streets and he's going into bars and clubs and having a good time partying, but it doesn't seem, the way he dresses
Right.
does not indicate anything that looks like he's a racist.
Right.
Okay, now what do racists look like? Well,
It could look like anything.
they can look like anybody, but the thing is, our typical look, that long hair, the scraggly beard thing, the pot bellies and tattoos, and
Possibly.
you know the
I mean, we could.
the "Don't Tread on Me," you know, a Confederate flag T-shirt
Yeah.
with cut off sleeves type dude,
Right.
you know, and you know, so granted that's very stereotypical,
Yeah.
and I get that, but that's what we have to go on
Right.
based on past instances.
Right.
Is he a Trump supporter? Who knows?
Right. I mean,
But
he's
I'm just strictly going by based on the look.
right.
Okay, that's all I'm referring to. Now, his statements don't even match the look.
Yeah, I wouldn't think that somebody that is dressed that way would have a problem with hanging around with black people or interacting with Hispanics or any of the list of people that he listed as people that he wanted to kill.
Yeah.
It's a shame that, you know, people are in the mental state where they're just hating people for whatever reason. I don't know what led him to that point, but it seems like whatever it was, it probably doesn't equal the inspiration that he seems to have with his statements. They just sound like ridiculous. But the other part is, you know, with all these social platforms, you know, when you go to the guidelines, most of them say that. Well, I don't know if I know any that allow like that to even take place now.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm surprised he wasn't flagged prior to.
Well, he was.
Well, yeah. I guess it came to that point.
In July of 2021,
Uh,
police said they found an illegally concealed handgun and loaded magazine in Carruthers' car, and because of his violent past
right.
or violent posts,
Mhm.
San Diego's issued Carruthers a gun violence restraining order.
I mean, that's good.
That was just last year, so a
Yeah.
little less than a year ago.
Yeah.
And so apparently he's back in the news again, dealing with this, saying that his speech is protected under the First Amendment. But let's see if we can find anything that actually deals with, you know, the judge says no, it's not protected.
I mean, I don't think it should be like saying some type of ridiculous stereotype as a racial slur. I wouldn't take it lightly, but then when you tie it to your intentions and what you're hoping might happen, and hoping to use X firearm or knife or whatever thing to cause bodily harm to somebody is I think a different ball game from saying some type of slur to somebody.
Yeah, it gives what you say some teeth.
Yeah, it really sounds like your intentions, especially after we had like a Dylan Roof or the guy from Vegas that shot up the whole crowd.
Right.
Like I feel like you really have to be aware of people's mental states, and if they're making statements that might say they're hoping for this outcome, it's like, why would we want you to have a gun? I mean, black, white, or otherwise.
Right.
I can't imagine that he would be somebody that any normal person would want to be around.
Well, it goes back to what I was, one of the things I had spoke before as far as gun rights were concerned, that I always thought that, okay, well, how do we get around the right people and the wrong people getting, the wrong people getting the guns? Well, the wrong people who's to say what's right and wrong, right?
Yeah.
But someone who clearly has shown that they hate a specific group or groups of individuals and want to do bodily harm and take someone's life. That's somebody who needs to go under some sort of mental health evaluation before he gets can legally purchase and own and operate a handgun or a gun of any sort. And he clearly has indicated in his posts on his social media platform that he needs to, it screams to me that I need help.
Exactly.
Because so there are going to be some people who say, well, it is free speech. But how far do we take this free speech thing when it comes to doing bodily harm? Because I mean, if that's the case, anybody can threaten anybody.
I mean, and this sounds like threats. It's not. This doesn't sound like just statements. It's hoping for a certain outcome.
Yeah, he's just waiting for something to pop off so we can have him reason to get out in the streets and just start doing harm.
I mean, it sounds like he's pretty much instigating a scenario.
Absolutely.
So, if you got a person that's instigating scenario carrying a firearm, eventually something's going to happen somewhere, and somebody's going to get hurt.
Yeah.
So he seems to be a person that we shouldn't be allowed to, have his way.
Yeah. Well, I tell you what, man, his just based on his story, his post, and everything, what the judge is saying, just based on what we've read and what we've learned today. This guy is serious about, you have to take his threats seriously.
He's way more than the average person.
Oh, absolutely, because it doesn't, if they just have, what if they didn't find him last July with a gun in his car? He just needed the right person to say something or look at him in the wrong way, and now he goes off on a killing spree. And, he's already indicated that this is what he wants to do. He's anxious. He's chomping at the bit to make it happen for it to happen. So I mean, at the end of the day, there's a couple of things, and one of them, freedom of speech is, I don't know, it kind of pales to the comparison to his mental mindset and the fact that he owns a weapon. And it's a story of three parts. Freedom of speech, or the First Amendment. It's a gun rights story, and it's also a mental health story. And this young man definitely could use
help. Honestly,
I don't want to be the one to actually say it, but truth of the matter is that those kind of posts concern me. And if I come across somebody's page, someone that I know, because I don't really venture on other people's pages, unless I actually know them. But if I happen to come across someone's page and I see that, I might have to red flag it, man, because
definitely.
And I definitely need to, consider dismissing them as a friend. Because I might be guilty by association.
You seem like you would start looking for who's the other people that think like this person if you were in some type of position of power or responsibility. Like if you're any social platform, people that he connected to, it seems like now you have to investigate whether they're acting as a group. Is he out with friends doing this? It's just, especially in this day and age, it's too much tied to just violence in general. That we can't just take it lightly and allow these statements to go unchecked to see if there's any, actual real intentions behind them.
Yeah. Well, you know, the thing that comes to mind, if you see something, say something.
Yeah, yeah.
Particularly on social media nowadays, particularly with our youth. Now, I don't know how old. Oh, they said he was 23 years
Yeah.
old. So, I mean, that's to me, that's youth.
Yeah, he's still young.
He's still young, what, behind the ears?
I mean,
But I mean, you know,
Yeah.
but I mean, at the end of the day, he's still a young man. There's plenty of life ahead of him.
yeah,
And he's young enough that with the proper care, treatment, guidance, he can mentally have his mindset changed.
yeah.
But again, at what cost?
Right, yeah,
You know,
Yeah.
and what's it going to cost the state, the county,
yeah.
the federal government to implement a program that can help him?
And, I mean,
You know.
the crazy part of it is like the cost of what it might take to change a person like that might save, hundreds of people.
Absolutely.
So it's like, it might be worth the investment, but at the same time, it could be just a waste of money, because some people just can't change.
You're right.
But, I guess if we just thought we can't change things like, anything, people wouldn't fight any fight worth fighting. So,
Yeah.
it's just a sad story, honestly. And luckily, it's not, a worse story with, somebody losing their life over nonsense.
Yeah. So, okay. So, since you said that, all right. So he's still out on the streets. We don't know whether or not he's
Right.
has been locked up
Right.
by the police, or if he's still in the general public going to work or whatever.
Yeah.
So, at what point do you start keeping an eye on someone?
I feel like he had a gun in his car, so to me, he's already,
Well, that might have been a traffic stop.
The traffic stop is one thing, but then the traffic stop, in addition to his pretty much manifesto of what he wants to do, now has to have attention given to it. Like he's begging for attention, obviously, and he's going to find it, whether through one avenue or the next.
Yes.
So, to me, if I'm in law enforcement, he has to be put under surveillance because he might not be acting alone.
Yeah. And he can't be detained because he hasn't done anything.
Right. So he's a person of interest as far as
Until he does something.
Right. But then maybe it's too late if he's allowed to get another firearm.
Well, not allowed, but if he just somehow is able to.
Well, I'm not saying allowed
Obtain.
legally. I'm saying
Yeah.
if he's allowed by anyone to get his hands on another firearm, maybe he's like, well, now I need to carry out the things in my head because I'm running out of time. Who knows what? I mean, he's already unstable, obviously.
Listening to the voices.
I mean, he's maybe,
I mean, these. Yeah, okay. Maybe I shouldn't make light of. I'd laugh about any of these kind of. Well, I just don't know what can cause people,
Yeah.
to even slide into this space.
Right.
Maybe he lost his girlfriend.
Right.
Maybe, maybe he got turned down by a woman of color.
Right.
Maybe she was Latino.
Right. Who knows?
Latina. Who knows
Yeah.
what the story is? Why maybe he got. Well, gosh, I hate to even use this, but I'm going to. But maybe for whatever reason, he said or did something that got him
Yeah. Yeah.
punched or slapped.
Right. Right.
And he just never recovered from it mentally.
Right. Yeah.
And so when you look at it, you kind of wonder who does he? So he dresses like a b-boy,
Right.
hip hop b-boy.
Yeah.
He talks like a white supremacist.
Right.
Is there identity issues somewhere up in
I
there?
mean, somewhere in there, he's had influences from a lot of different areas, and it seems like he's searching for the truth, but he seems like he thinks he's found it, but that's just going to land him in either dead or in jail.
Right.
So I don't know, like, he's 23, where does he see his future at with an attitude like this?
Right.
Like even making statements now you have a record of being this person, and you created a space for yourself in the world where you're, the boogeyman, so to speak.
Mhm.
So how do you lose that stigma now?
I tell you, man, it's going to be
I mean, even by his own avatar name, what was it? The
liberal Terminator.
yeah, like where are you going with this? You know what I mean? Did you see the end of the movie? You know,
Right.
Like where do you expect this to take you in the future?
Yeah. Well, I tell you what, it is definitely, we have to really pay attention to the things that are going on around us, the social media posts that we come across
Yeah.
and everything. And I hate to have to be a fine tooth comb
Right.
going through people's posts.
Yeah.
Man, that ain't me.
Yeah. Right. No. Definitely. not.
You
Yeah.
know, I'm all for it. Then you bring it in the street. We gonna handle it in the street.
Yeah, but
You know,
man, yeah.
but also know that, I mean, in all truthfulness and everything, and you know, in all seriousness, when we see these kind of things,
Yeah.
we need to flag it.
Yeah, it definitely.
You know, alert whoever needs to be alerted on Instagram, Twitter,
Yeah.
TikTok, or Facebook, or Meta Universe, or
Yeah.
whoever.
Right.
And you know, that need to be red flagged.
Yeah.
Because again, we're talking about mental health. You're talking about gun rights,
Yeah.
and yes, people can always fall back on the freedom of speech. But I mean, after a while, depending on how deep you go with your freedom of speech,
Yeah.
it's going to get you it's going to get you flagged.
I mean, at least you know, the social platform he should be suspended from all, you know, because he's basically spreading a mindset that is definitely against good, pretty much. You know what I mean? It's like if you're pretty much asking for anarchy and death on your page, why should these social platforms, unless they're standing behind that, allow that activity?
Right.
You know, so I mean, it would help everyone to be able to just cut the voice off of mayhem. You know, so along with his license to carry, he shouldn't have a license to speak. You know, on a platform that's pushing across the world.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
You just have to be aware of how you're carrying yourself and what you're saying. Amongst, if we're just talking about, you know, social media, it's a societal place. You can't have a person that's trying to go against the society norms to the point of now you're trying to kill other people.
Right.
You know, like if he's mentally unstable, why should you give a voice to that person to spread to, you know, possibly millions of people?
Yeah. Well, I tell you, man, you know, we keep this young man in prayer that, you know, maybe the Lord, you know, if you're a believer in the Bible or religious beliefs, you might want to keep this young man in prayer and people like him
Right.
in prayer, because this is something that is coming out more and more frequently today. If social media was where it is today when Timothy McVeigh,
Right.
when he came down to the Oklahoma bombings and stuff, you know, there's more platforms for these people, or people who think like that, who have a desire to kill large groups of people. Now there's platforms that they can use to share their thoughts.
Right.
But at the same time, there's also platforms that the law enforcement agencies can use to flag and track these folks.
Definitely.
So so again, folks, we have to be diligent
Yes.
in paying attention to not only our family and friends, but especially our children,
Yes.
because we don't know everything that our sons and daughters may have come across when they're away from home, when they're at school, with their so-called friends and whatnot, or who they might be dating and getting caught up in these things. And we have to be very careful. So mom, dad, grandma, grandpa, auntie, uncle, y'all watch your kids, get on their sites, you know, pay attention to what's going on, because this young man his thought process could easily be your child at any given moment. So we have to be careful with that. So again, unless you have any other thoughts, we're gonna.
No, not really. I mean, hopefully he gets the help that he needs. That's bottom line.
Bottom line. So with that being said, folks, because again, the mission is bigger than us all, and make sure you get out and vote. With the local elections coming up in your region, your state, county, city, do the research. Make sure that you are registered to vote. If you've moved, make sure you are registered to vote. Go down to your precinct or early vote, whatever it is you have to do to make sure your vote counts. And it does count. And it's so important that we do all of this, because the laws that affect us the most are our local and state laws. And you definitely want to have people who are in your corner, who think like you, that you are going to have your best interests at heart. So it's imperative that you do what you need to do to be able to get the results that you need, that are going to benefit not only you and your community, but all the people that you know and love. All right, so with that being said, folks, I want to thank you, Sean, and myself. We want to say thank you again for tuning in and joining with us on PushTalk on today. Until next time, God bless you. Have a great day.